So I'm joined by Rob Callister, the MHK responsible for the TT and for tourism. And I should say, am I allowed to use this because I'm using the? Am I going to get myself in trouble by using this TT logo?
You'll be fine.
Okay.
You're promoting the event. It's absolutely fine.
Right. Well, okay. I'm being a bit glib there, but there was a little hiccup there, wasn't there? Yet again, it seemed like just a small little company trying to make the best out of something, and heavy-handed, was it? I'm talking about Looney's of Ramsey.
I don't think it was heavy-handed. I did speak to Adrian Gerling at Looney's, and it is incredibly difficult for myself as a political member. It's very difficult for the department. When we had the same problems back in 2016-17, what we did do is put in place a very firm set of policies, guidelines and procedures, and we'd always encourage, if anyone's wanting to do anything relating to the TT, go and have a look at those policies, have a look at the guidelines, send the team an email, and let us help you. That's the clear message.
Okay.
And I think ahead of next year's event, maybe 3 months before the next year's event, we put a press release out to remind people, if they want to help promote the TT, then contact us, check to see if there's any infringement. Because if you take the Ramsey situation, the actual TT is not the major problem here. It's the fact that it's producing enough of merchandise, and we already have an exclusive contract with a supplier that pays a six-figure sum which goes back into the event. So it's just a case of checking. Let's help you out. We want people to promote the event, we want people to be involved in the event, but just check things out first.
Did you say heavy-handed? Do you accept it was heavy-handed the way you went about it, though, your department or your people? I mean, what they did, was there a better way of doing it?
No, I don't think there was, unfortunately, and I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't know this happened until I saw it on social media and I started getting tagged into messages. So even the department wasn't involved at that stage.
Well, someone must have gone up.
What happened was Trading Standards had gone in. Now, I don't know who had contacted Trading Standards. I hadn't, and as far as I understand it, the team hadn't either. So I'm not fully aware of all the circumstances of how Trading Standards ended up in Looney's that day, questioning the T-shirts that had been produced. Once I was aware of it, and once I had been tagged into messages, I took the opportunity to speak to the owner of Looney's directly. I explained to him that there was a policy online which is available to anybody to have a look. If you click on the DOR and the DFE website and then click on tourism, on the right hand side, there is all the guidelines, application forms and all the support that anyone needs.
And Miami company has also been in the fray. That must be harder to police, isn't it, around the world if they're outside your jurisdiction?
There is a lot of difficult infringements that we have to deal with. Now, what happens with those? There's a lot pop up on Facebook, take for example, before the event or leading up to the event. So what happens is the team or our legal representatives, they contact Facebook and we ask for those sites to be taken down. And then hopefully, a lot of the time, especially locally or in the UK, what we do is write the company, make them aware of the infringement. That normally deals with it. But in respect of the Miami site and other sites that have popped up on Facebook, we contact Facebook directly and ask for those pages to be taken down.
You don't go to the company then? I mean, and say...
No, because it's
slap a lawsuit on them, or it's totally outside, you know.
It is incredibly difficult to locate exactly where that business has popped up. So the easiest way is just to go directly to Facebook, ask them saying there's infringement on this site needs to be taken down. A lot of the times the sites are taken down and we don't hear again from them.
How was the TT? I mean, obviously a death and that can't be good, and just the general goings on. I mean, the weather wasn't on your side at all, but how do you sum up the TT from your point of view?
I think compared to last year, I think this year's TT Festival was extremely difficult. I think you've mentioned the weather. The weather played a major part in this year's event. It cancelled a lot of the sessions, especially in the practice week. A lot of the sessions were cancelled. I thought the clerk of the course had done a sterling job. I mean, we have a very experienced clerk in the course with Gary Thompson. We have a fantastic marshals organisations, and we have an army of volunteers all behind this event, which makes it possible. So they all came forward and did their job fantastically, and I'm so pleased that the Marshals Association of the Isle of Man, which has a lot of people coming over and supporting them as well to make the event possible, actually won the Spirit of the TT Award, and I couldn't think of a more fitting winner of that award this year.
Okay, but I said there's been a death, and you didn't mention that in your bit at all. How do you deal with these things? You know, it happens. I mean, I say this every year. Then we just skate on. 3 minutes later, it's all gone to one side, and the races continue, and
no, I don't.
We all just carry on. The only reason you know something's happened is because there's no champagne at the winners thing, isn't it? I mean, that's probably the big.
I think a lot of the time, depending on who the rider is. Obviously, I was made aware that the rider had lost his life, and again, I posted something on social media. You know, it's extremely difficult. It's more difficult for me actually as the political member. I feel it actually. I know that sounds very strange. From when I was just sitting in the heads like everybody else, had no association with these riders, had no association with the team. But
that's
now
it, because you got the association. You are responsible for this race, aren't you?
Yeah, but now as the political member, I do feel every accident, and I do feel every tragedy.
Do you feel responsible for his death in some way then?
Not responsible, but you know, as I put on social media, I understand the sacrifices that families make collectively in order to allow someone to follow their dreams. And in this instance, you know, I sort of saw 2 wonderful posts from Dalys Matheson's wife, and she posted them, and you know, my heart went out to her, because they've got a young daughter who's 2 years old, or around 2 years old. They're called Daisy, and I do wish them all the very best for the future.
Have you had any contact with them directly?
Not directly, but
should you have maybe?
Well, I made a contribution myself to the fundraising page that was set up. I do feel it, and I read those messages, and you can't help but be affected. But as Dalys' wife had put, he was following his dream. But what it does highlight is the sacrifices that many teams and close family make in order for an individual to follow their dreams to the end. And the family themselves were really hoping that this would be the last year that he would have to sacrifice his own money in order to fulfill that dream. He was hoping that by next year, because he was a seeded rider, he was hoping, you know, the family were hoping that next year he'd be picked up by a team, and then he can start delivering the dream, and maybe getting those results he was getting, because he was recognisable in the zero race. He'd actually been on the podium for the last 3 years, so he was a recognised and a seeded rider. So again, my heart does go out to the family. You haven't
once used there, I was surprised you didn't, the Everest example, which is now almost, and it's this time of year when people are dying on Everest all the time. You didn't use that to sort of thing. No, people do it because they can do it, and they shouldn't be stopped from doing it. Yeah.
None of us actually force the riders to take their position on the start line, but what we do have to do is to try and improve the event wherever possible, and the event has come on miles and miles. However, you know, accidents do happen, and as you say, as the political member, I'm surprised how these deaths do affect me, and how I do feel them, even though I don't know the family, even though I don't know the riders. There's some riders I'll know more than others, but it does affect you, and you know, I always do feel it for the family who's left behind.
Okay, we're going to have a part 2, because that's one side. We're going to look at the changes that's happened, and that's in the second part of this interview.